We are headed in to round number 3. We have Daniel and Chronic on my stream. Winner of this moves into the semifinals, gets a bye, as well as, I was talking to Chronic about this, a guaranteed $600 extra for starting in the semifinals over the quarterfinals. So definitely a lot on the line here. Daniel, Chronic on my stream. Lion Blaze Cosmic on Rizzo stream. Loser eliminated, winner moves on. Chat, here we go. Daniel versus Chronic. Round 3 of the Fear Fest finale. Pool A. Winner of this moves on to the semifinals, and I was actually talking to him about it before. It's basically worth $600 to win this match because finishing in the top 4 of the playoffs is a huge prize bump over basically not getting a win in the playoffs. So a win in the playoffs gets you the big bucks, and a way to do that is by winning the pool. You get a bye, which is equivalent to a win, and a lot of cash. Winner of this game is going to be the one who starts in the semis, Chronic and Daniel. When Chronic has played Fear Fest in the past, I believe he played Fear Fest the first time around, and I want to say he won his pool, if I am remembering correctly. I want to say he or maybe it was a Fear 500. I might be thinking of a Fear 500 actually, because Fear 500 used a similar format. I think that actually is what I'm thinking of. Chronic is going to score first. Title says Daniel versus Lion Blaze. Mods are fixing that, looks like. Appreciate that. Buried, by the way, thank you for the 32 months. Tier 1 for 32 months is a long time. And thank you for updating the title as well. Once upon a time, those of you who've been around on the Fear channel for a while actually remember that Daniel used to not be able to beat Chronic. For a long time, Chronic was a bar for Daniel to test himself by, one that he could not get over. But then came the day that Chronic, I think, knew was coming as well. The day in which Daniel overtook him, and since then has never gone back. Daniel, air dribble for a first goal. Yeah, I don't think since Chronic has lost to Daniel that he's ever won. You know, it switched completely over to Daniel, the matchup between these two, and has been in favor of Daniel since then. Daniel didn't even qualify for Fear 500 Season 1. Yeah, that was when Daniel was first starting. Daniel was a top 10 ones player around my first tournament that I ran, the Fear 500 Season 1. He came into the qualifier as the number 1 seed, I think, because he was the highest rated North American at the time. And that was back when he used to win being very aggressive with bumps. I remember how frustrated everyone who played against him would be because he was ultra aggressive and wasn't necessarily his normal flashy style that he wins with now. That came later as a part of his eventual development in the ones game. Oh, Chronic, what the heck? I didn't realize Chronic was going to be able to take that away. Daniel popped the ball up. I thought Chronic was behind the play, but apparently he was hovering right above Daniel, waiting for the ball to be given to him. And he taps it away to his control. Daniel, full field dribble. I think we're going to see a lot of these between Daniel and Chronic. This was Next Gen's grand final as well. The first time around, the first tournament we ran for players underneath 15 years old who could not play in the RLCS. It was a 14-year-old Chronic versus a 13-year-old Daniel, I believe. And Chronic got the win in that grand final. So at that time, Chronic was still over the top of Daniel. I mean, you heard me just talk about the matchup between these two and how it used to be all in favor of Chronic. Well, obviously it was during that Next Gen tournament. Next Gen Season 2 was won by Daniel, but by that point, Chronic was too old and didn't participate. I think Daniel was able to win over Evo to get that second Next Gen tournament. Daniel, great reset. Delays the use of it until after Chronic is off the wall, and that means his read will be way too late. Who would you predict would win the next Gen tourney? You know, I was thinking about this because so far the Next Gen winners, I think I mentioned this on stream actually already. Chronic the Pogo, I want to see it so bad, but it's just going to get him scored on. The Next Gen winners all have very solid positions in the Rocket League world right now. Chronic, the first Next Gen winner, currently just won a major, and it's proven to be one of the best players in RLCS. Daniel, the second Next Gen winner, I think speaks for himself. Top 2 in 1v1 in the game. Has spent some time as top 1, I would argue, at points. And is also a spectacular RLCS player. And then the third next-gen winner, Rawas. I think you guys know Rawas, who is potentially even on track with a couple good splits to end the season to be the Middle East MVP, you could argue. But it does hang on the fact that Rule 1 does need to have a bit of a better last couple splits than they did in their first one. And also, undisputed rank 1 1v1er in the world. So, who will be the new next-gen champion is something that should be very interesting to people who are wanting to know who's up next. And I would think the best chances are in the North American Fast and in the Middle Eastern player Dark. Those are the two players who I think have the best chance at winning Next Gen Season 4. Chronic. His flick leads to nowhere. He's got a tie game with Daniel right now. Daniel take it to an air dribble. Chronic gets enough on it to potentially end this possession. And then cannot get it over the top. Oh, Daniel the other way. These two haven't really had a strong attempt in the past few minutes. 30 seconds. We could be seeing the final attack of the game. If either one of them can break through, Daniel is going to almost bait Chronic in and now take a full field dribble. This is a great setup. A late recovering Chronic is going to try and challenge early, and he actually succeeds in doing so. Intercepts the ball. Has no boost to work with. As Daniel looks to try and control the ball at the midfield, he might have an open field right now, and he does. 4-3 in the final moments. Chronic wasn't able to take that back corner boost, but he still approached the ball with only 16, and even that 50, which he slightly won, is not enough to make up for the fact that he's now sitting on 0, and Daniel just refreshed at the midfield. Delay kickoff for Chronic. He chips the ball high. It's very... Oh, no, it's not possible. I was going to say it's possible, but Daniel didn't put himself too far out of the play. He was right back to tap it to the ground. So Daniel, 1-0 against Chronic. Game number 2. What is the oldest you can be to play Next Gen? So the way that I was doing Next Gen, actually the first time that I ever did it, so back in the 1v1 game, hopefully you guys are okay with talking a bit about Next Gen. I'll keep it brief here at the start of this game, but when we first did Next Gen, it was because for the first time ever, Psyonix was sponsoring ones tournaments. And because they were sponsoring ones tournaments, the players who weren't 15 couldn't play. So 14 and under just straight up couldn't compete. So guys like Daniel and Chronic, these players who maybe could have won the entire tournaments, just didn't even get to play in them. So I was like, all right, I've got to make a tournament for these guys to show off how good they are. Because the Salt Mine 1, I think it was, they couldn't even compete in. Or what? Was it Salt Mine 1? Whatever. The point is, whichever tournament it was, they couldn't compete. So that is how it started. Daniel, dribble from the back corner, trying to 50 with Chronic. Could not do so. Not favorably. Chronic, way too strong of a first touch. Can't imagine a world where he somehow turns that in for a goal. Daniel cuts underneath Chronic, forces him in the air, and gets a first goal. It was Smug? No way it was Smug. It was before Smug. It couldn't have just been Smug. Salt Mine 2 was before Smug, and Salt Mine 2 was Psyonix sponsored. It was whatever the first Psyonix sponsored tournament was. I think it might have been... Nah, no way it was Smug. That's too late. Smug was too recent. Psyonix sponsored Smug first. So you're telling me they did Salt Mine Underground, and then they did Salt Mine 2? Salt Mine 2 was sponsored by Psyonix? Yeah. I think Salt Mine 1 might have been as well. No, Salt Mine 1 might not have been, but Salt Mine 2 was. For Next Gen Season 3, it was Smug. Well, Season 3 had already come up with Next Gen by that point. I'm talking about the first Next Gen. What did you mean how many games Daniel needs to secure the group? He has to win the series, surely? Yeah, there's a good chance. I can't remember. It depends if Chronic went to Game 5 with anybody. Chronic, did he go to game 5 with Lion Blaze? Yeah, no, he probably has to win the group because I bet you even if he wins 3-2, then his head-to-head, Chronic has the head-to-head over Daniel, so he probably does just need to win. They are tied? Oh, they're perfectly tied, plus minus. Well, there you go, yeah. Winner of this moves on. Simple as that. Chronic was in Salt Mine 1, so it was Salt Mine 2. I think it's Salt Mine 2. That's what I'm going to go back to. Fusion allowed under 15. I'm going with Salt Mine 2. I mean, you guys can look this up, right? You can look up when the tournaments were and when Next Gen Season 1 was. Chronic is the second goal. Yeah, Daniel played in Fusion along with like Mile and somebody else, right? Or something. Remember they played in some like put together team, since obviously Daniel wasn't old enough to play in RLCS, so he didn't have an RLCS team. Daniel, ceiling pinch. Actually, if he didn't pinch that on the ground, he would have been able to score. I thought that was such a weird setup. But since Chronic missed on his challenge, as long as he just didn't send it out of a shooting range, he would have been able to get a goal, and Daniel still finds one. Side flip off the wall and catches back up to this one for a double. Whatever happened to Nick Davic, I think he's a little bit less interested in playing. He played with Money and Forky. Interesting. I think Nick Davic, he always wasn't quite as competitive focused, I feel like, as maybe some of the other players who pushed high in rank. And so I don't think he's always willing to play these really high level games. Chronic reacts only after Daniel has the reset, so he pushes the ball past him. Daniel's so good at getting the early reset in order to use it to his best advantage. Chronic catch and launches a shot off the half volley. Able to get a third goal. If Lion loses to Cosmic, we would live in a world where Lion and Jorias went out in the first stage of a tournament on the same day. I mean, these are stacked tournaments, and I think it's credit to how good the qualifying players are, because I think people were I talked about it earlier, people were doubting the qualifiers. This is a great shot from Chronic. Look at it go. Daniel, he actually had what felt like the perfect read in the save. He just couldn't get to there in time. He started so far on the back wall. Great placement from Chronic. Do I play Rocket League or do I just host tournaments? Owen Hall asks. I play Rocket League on occasion. Hosting streams and stuff is certainly what I do more often now. And my hours played in game is mostly that. But I do play, I would say I play enough to get ranked rewards for Grand Champ every season. So definitely still play, but it's certainly a lot less than I used to before I started doing tournaments and show matches. I play twos almost exclusively. Chronic, nice outplay. These two are destroying each other in the air. And it is to the benefit of all the viewers to watch this aerial attack. Daniel tries to challenge from the ceiling this time. Does not work. Chronic tries to sneak in the far post. Daniel is so clean with his catches. He takes everything into these air dribbles. Other players, when they make these saves, they aren't able to turn them immediately into air dribbles like this. They're a little bit more focused on defense, and Daniel seems to always be having that setup in mind. So as he saves it, he's just collected it and turned it into an air dribble before the blink of an eye. And now Chronic is having to defend on zero boost as he rushes back to net. Daniel pre-jumping this one. Daniel is one of the players that I've watched pre-jump more than anybody else. And the reason why you don't see tons of people pre-jumping as early as this is because it goes like this a lot. Chronic, great read. Plays it over the top of him and then taps it in to tie the game. Daniel backing off the ball in the corner. Chronic certainly going to try and chase Daniel down, and Daniel knows it. He goes all the way to ceiling height, even drives slightly up the curve in order to avoid it. And now he's got himself 50 boost. He sees Chronic panic flipping on the other side of the ball. Or is he panic flipping as he's able to collect it with 50 boost? On the back wall, he has set himself up for a decent 50. He might be able to shoot immediately off this. He does roll it towards net, and Daniel nowhere to be found. Chronic 7-6 with 3 seconds. Daniel needs a miracle on a kickoff to try and send it to overtime. Really delay his kickoff. We saw Chronic do that to get the ball high. Or was it Lion Blaze? I think it was Chronic in the last game, wasn't it? And Daniel is able to hit the ground. Daniel right now doing a good job of playing keep away, but Chronic just chasing him down. Has the GG, I think, before the ball even hit the ground, which means he might have typed it out. But Chronic tying up the series 1-1. We head to game 3. Game number 3. Full of Bastion. Thank you for the prime. We have got a tie series. Chronic and Daniel. Winner of this series gets $600. Essentially, because they get a bye in the playoffs and they get straight into the big money the playoffs has to offer. Loser gets sent to the quarterfinals. A place that Daniel has been sent to before in a similar tournament. And in that tournament, he was favored to win as well. You guys might remember the Fear 500 Season 2, which is what I'm talking about. And then Daniel losing in the quarters to iRicky and walking away with far less prize than he could have. Daniel trying to rewrite that history right now. He has an opportunity to land against Chronic if he can get a couple more wins. Chronic, air dribble, reset, wave dash. Daniel is on the goal line. Daniel will get a first goal. Sticking with the Fennec. Sticking with the Carmine Corp Fennec, I should say. Because I think he's been Fennec all day. Daniel. Ball to air dribble, early reset. Far away from the net, though. Chronic is going to be able to eat that up easily. Yeah, Drees won the Fear 500 Season 2. Good times. Mo was also playing well around that time. That was during his rise. Peaked during the Fear 5, in which he then quits. He absolutely quit at his peak, no doubt about it. And he was never to be seen again, which is very interesting. Chronic ceiling reset catch. Oh my goodness, Chronic, this is smooth. You have to love a Chronic versus Daniel matchup, the way they attack each other in the air. I mean, ultimately, this finishes with a pretty standard shot off of a ball carry, you could argue. But the setup before it is what lulls Daniel into sleep and makes it possible for Chronic to score. Daniel wall jumping into the ceiling, sees Chronic early challenge, and Chronic able to connect with Daniel. I wonder if he accepted the fact that he wasn't going to get ball and just aimed for Daniel, or if he was just trying to intercept. He does perfectly high five Daniel, but Daniel kept it low enough. That's an immediate goal. If you're an OG, you remember A-Money being high up in ones. Yeah, I remember A-Money. I think A-Money was in Johnny's show matches, right? He got at least 1 or 2 Johnny's show matches back in the day. I hadn't even thought about streaming around that time. Chronic, what a fake. Daniel has been getting these saves, admittedly. He's been going for reads and getting saves because of it. This time he just flies way past the play. What are my thoughts about Mizikski? If you guys didn't watch today, Mizikski played and was able to qualify for the playoffs. Mizikski's a top player. I think this is a really great tournament format. Nice save by Chronic on the Daniel flick. It's a nice tournament format to show you that the top 8 in both regions are not as invincible as I think people think they are. They can be taken down by these, less well-known players. Chronic just rolls it directly into net. Daniel doesn't keep it out. But You know, Mizixi is a good player, and he's proven that right now. And it doesn't make these top players any less talented either. You know, it just, reality is, there are these players who can do this. Wow, Daniel. Many resets, but all of it leads to nothing. Chronic going to go up 5-2. Daniel needs to prevent the tilt. Daniel, oh, Chronic is going to try and guarantee the tilt. He's going to guarantee the tilt. Chronic could win this game. When we have 2 minutes and 25 seconds, can Daniel break the tilt? Chronic seems willing to let the ball sit there in front of the net. Chronic checking to see if Daniel's even thinking about coming back. Oh, Chronic's just going to score. Oh. No, he's going to tease it. He's going to tease it. All right, Daniel's coming back. He's willing to press one button, which is his reverse button. Nope, he's decided to boost away. All right, Chronic does score it. 5-2. A lot of time wasted. Daniel is not going to skip the replay either. This is Chronic's win condition. This is where you have to get Daniel if you want to beat him. And the way that Daniel breaks out of it, he's going to have to pop off on a couple mechanical shots, and then I think his head's right back in it. This one is going to be air dribble near ceiling height. Chronic, who knows that Daniel's way out of the tilt is aerial success. He is up early to stop it before it ever gets started. Because even if Daniel gets, you know, a cheeky touch past him and then a goal, I think that does less for his mental than if Chronic just let him go to work on a triple reset or something. Daniel in the air. One reset falls in front of the ball. Chronic able to redirect it to the corner. Daniel tackles. And can he find an angle off the wall? It's not going to be very likely. Chronic's going to have the time to recover, but he's on such low boost now. Daniel, can he play keep away? Reset far away from the net. Second reset. Goes low and takes it in the near corner. Chronic had no choice but to try and stop something high. And that is not what Daniel gave him. 47 seconds for Daniel to bring it back. Daniel off the ceiling. What an insane pre-jump. Chronic never even started his dribble. Yet somehow Daniel does get away with it. He's not terribly punished. The way he's punished, though, is he doesn't get the ball back, and he's continuing to have to play defense. 52 boost to work with. Chronic, that slight big challenge was enough to get Daniel to launch the ball away, and he really needed to hold on to it. Really needed to hold on to it and take it in for a goal. Instead, he let Chronic basically finish out this game. Daniel can't chase him down. Nothing seems to be going his way. Chronic with a 2-1 lead. Headed into game number 4. Game number 4. Daniel and Chronic. Somebody in chat said, would you be disappointed if your future kid's dream is to be a Rocket League pro and wasted 80% of his day playing it? You know, I'm not sure that any of my kids will be future pros. I think it's pretty rare to be a gaming pro, period. But I think the only way they stand a chance is to do it how I think some other pros do it. Daniel cannot get the save. Promise to make it 2-0, which is to succeed in school, you know, fully, and then maybe they'll have enough time to work on, you know, Rocket League or any game on the side. There's certainly players who do it that way, but I also think Dr. Feer is going to be a hard one to convince to have somebody grinding just a bit too hard. By the way, Iraq with Tim, thank you for the tier 1 for 3 months. Fearfest is the highlight of your holiday time. Yo, thank you. Do you have kids? I do not have kids. Chronic. First touch reset. Oh, if he could get this doubling in. I think that would be the beginning of the end for Daniel. Daniel gifted one, though. He get an opportunity of his own. You think it might be a freestyle 1v1 the way these guys attack each other through the air. But it's not. Daniel missing near post. Chronic matching him again. Will he go for the pogo, right? Chronic's the one who's been trying for it. But maybe he finds himself in a position now where he does not find the pogo attempts worth it because he does have Daniel on the ropes. Why is this called the Fear Fest finale? I think because I'm going to try and retire the Fear Fest name. That's why. We had Fear Fest 1 and we had Fear Fest 2. And now this is the biggest prize pool I've ever run. And it is the max prize pool for a community tournament. And because I support them, it kind of feels like it makes sense for them to be the Fear Fest because Fear is kind of the sponsor, you could argue. And I'm going to try and move towards getting other sponsors and, you know, taking a salary from my work if you had missed the news on that. So the Fear Fest finale just felt like, you know, the end of the era where the stream pays for itself in terms of tournaments and we're able to get a nice max prize pool tournament out of it. Just felt right to call it the Fear Fest finale. Kid Slice, you have your whole funk band over. Well, hello to the funk band of Kid Slice. Daniel trying to pre-jump. Is he going back to the ceiling? He fell off the ceiling to pre-jump it. Used his boost to go back to the ceiling. Intercept the dribble still. And could he score off of it? Chronic is in and out of the net, so it's possible. Daniel does! What is he doing? Why is he floating near the top of the arena, and why does it work? Questions we ask ourselves. But Daniel was never worried the whole way. The best ones player right now, in my opinion, from both regions, will be whoever wins this tournament, most likely. How's that an answer for you? The number 1 seeds going into both would be Rawas and Daniel. Daniel finds a way to get a 5th as he's able to keep this up and away from Chronic. Yeah, I think it's pretty universally agreed right now that Rawas is the number 1 in the world. Daniel has shook off whatever happened in game number 4. He's currently up 6-2 on Chronic and has no signs of slowing down. Rock, thank you for the brand new Prime. Chronic stealing the corner boost and slotting into the top right. Daniel creeping out to get a couple pads. Left that position open. You still think Daniel is the best in the world if he doesn't tilt? You know, I think there's a few players who can sometimes peak really high, like peak almost extra high, but then have a floor that's a bit lower. The thing that Rawas has done is it seems like his floor has met his ceiling, and both of those are capable of beating just about anybody. And that is a special trait. When you can get the exact same performance out of him every single time, and that performance is enough to beat everybody he's played recently, with the exception of Daniel, you got to give Rawas a nod. Chronic, nice reset. Able to keep Daniel from getting the goal line save. Daniel has looked a bit lost in the goal line saves, admittedly. Oh, I thought maybe he would try and double that. That would have been such a crazy double if he had taken it off the top of Chronic and then used his boost to stay in the air for a double instead of going to the ground. Oh, Chronic! He doesn't want to see game 5, and he is working his way back into this game number 4. Daniel thinking about the ceiling challenge, decides better of it, but all that time deciding left the possibility of Chronic scoring early open. A reset gets him a 5th. Can he get a kickoff goal? to bring himself back to tie. Doesn't seem like it, but he is going to get possession out of the back corner. Daniel once again threatening those crazy pre-jumps. Or I should say pre-falls. He's not even necessarily jumping when he comes off the ceiling. But the problem with Daniel is he has looked lost on these defensive plays near the net. Chronic can just slowly walk the ball in, and the way Daniel has been maneuvering, he hasn't been able to stop much. Chronic bumped and turns in a 7th goal. Can Daniel keep the mental strong in a situation where he was up 6-2 or something in this game? 5 straight goals, I believe it's been for Chronic to take over the lead and threatening ending the series early. Daniel prone to falling out of a series due to the mental game. He's looked so strong in this game number 4. He's just pre-jumping himself into the net. And look at Chronic, who's just staying patient, staying low, gets the low 50, and doesn't rush this one. He knows Daniel's going to be recovering, so he just fakes him out and then chips it in for an 8th. It is now, what I believe, 6 straight goals for Chronic. So I want to say it was 6-2. It was definitely something drastically in favor of Daniel. What a great reset. He's out of gaining the reset so well. This is unbelievable power. 110 kilometer per hour flick from Chronic. 1 second it's on his car, the other second it's in the net, and there's nothing Daniel can do about it. This run for Chronic is otherworldly. Still a minute on the clock for Daniel to bring it back. Kickoff goal to stop the bleeding, if ever so slightly. Within 2 now. Rizzo, thank you so much for the raid of 535. I appreciate you covering the cosmic side of the pool. Johnny, thank you for the prime. We are in a game number 4 with Daniel and Chronic. Chronic on the verge of sending Daniel to the quarterfinals. A much harder place to play out of in the playoffs. Chronic wants to secure that huge chunk of the prize pool. Everything's been going his way in the Rocket League world recently. And yet somehow beating Daniel feels like one of the biggest achievements you can get as a North American 1v1er. You can see the tilt from Daniel. He doesn't even move the car. He could have recovered so much better than that, but he knows that it's likely over. Daniel says if that air dribble bump's not even going to work, what's going to work against this guy? Nothing. Chronic, a 10-7 lead. I talked about how Chronic hasn't beat Daniel since the first time that Daniel got a win. I wasn't sure if chat ever verified me on that, but that's just me off the top of my head. It's been a long time since Chronic's been able to climb back and retake a series win over the cracked youngster who is slowly working down the field, seeing how many resets he can get before dropping the ball in, and he actually did. This is such an interesting sequence. Just jump, reset, fake, Chronic back to the ground. Jump, reset, fake, back to the ground. All the way into the net. 8 seconds, and it's still possible if Daniel could just get 2 more goals. Daniel, wall to air dribble, double resets. All of this is not too fast. Chronic will get the 3-1 win and will win Pool A. Daniel, the 2 seed out of Pool A. What an impressive performance from Gen G Mobile One Racing Chronic.